Assistant District Attorney Mark Hansen is gunned down outside the Kaufman County Courthouse.
This killer was capable of anything.
Totally unpredictable.
Around the same time, parolee Evan Ebel murders a Colorado prison warden and severely wounds a Texas deputy. Ebel is killed in a shootout with cops. But authorities wonder if there's a connection to Mark Hansen's murder.
Anything is within the realm of possibility.
But it turns out Ebel wasn't even in the state of Texas when Mark was killed. So if he didn't kill Mark Hansen, who did?
There you go, buddy. Keep breathing for me.
The first thing you think is there's somebody that I prosecuted that wants to get me. But you also have to look, is there something in the personal life? Is there something that we're missing? So it was look at things personally, business, and professionally. And so the investigation was cranked up. Local officials did that investigation, but unfortunately the trail ran cold.
Ice cold for weeks, but the murder of the assistant DA is never far from anyone's mind, especially those working at the courthouse.
Was there a sense that the DA's office was targeted, considering the suspect was still out there? Was that in the air?
Absolutely. Who's mad? Who's ticked off that wants to take down the Kaufman District Attorney's office?
Everybody took it very seriously and changed their security habits, and very, very scared at different points during this case.
It was a shared sentiment reaching the very top. District Attorney Mike McClelland even went gun shopping for his office to make sure that all of his employees were armed and ready just in case.
He took care of everybody. He was there for the entire office. He was the boss and he was the leader, more of a Papa Bear type boss.
A gun owner and enthusiast, McClelland was thought of as a tough guy who could take care of himself, according to his son, JR.
He kind of felt himself as pretty invincible. He had a weapon on him at all times. He taught us how to use a gun. He never locked his doors. He was tall and carried a big gun.
And kept several other guns all over the home he shared with his wife, Cynthia.
2 by the chair, 2 on the bar, 2 on the entertainment center, 1 on each side of the bed. They were everywhere.
Tragically, that wasn't enough to protect the popular district attorney or his wife. They were ambushed in the pre-dawn hours at their own home.
And about 2 months after Mark was murdered, Mike McClelland, the DA of Kaufman County, and his wife, Cynthia, were found murdered in their home in Kaufman County.
The shocking murders came on the Saturday before Easter. Sheriff deputies respond now on high alert.
I got in the car and went out to the crime scene, but the entire way there, we're trying to locate other members of the Kaufman DA's office, because at that point, we didn't know how many prosecutors had been killed.
Special Prosecutor Bill Worski, brought in to investigate Mark Hansen's murder, quickly gets word that the other Kaufman prosecutors are accounted for and safe, at least for now.
It was completely unprecedented to have 2 prosecutors from the same office murdered.
And what's more?
It was an unprecedented assault on the criminal justice system, because only prosecutors and their families are being targeted and murdered.
Kaufman County Sheriff's homicide detectives record the gruesome crime scene. It's a virtual bloodbath inside the home. DA McClelland's body is found by the front door, and his wife Cynthia is nearly naked and lifeless on the living room floor. Both shot multiple times with an assault-style weapon.
And you just kind of go numb, and you really don't know what to think.
Cops collect evidence at the crime scene, but they have very little to go on except for a few neighbors who report seeing a white Crown Victoria car in the McClelland neighborhood before and after the shooting. Then Kaufman investigators face the solemn task of notifying the McClelland children.
What were your thoughts and your feelings when you found out your father was dead?
Initially, I didn't believe it. He was invincible.
JR had to break the tragic news to his sister.
I actually thought my brother was lying to me.
You were in disbelief.
Right.
But sadly, it's true, and now Kaufman authorities race to protect their own.
There was a concerted war on prosecutors
In an unprecedented move, the sheriff's department gives prosecutors and their families round-the-clock armed protection.
We were just worried that our friends were going to get, murdered. They all had officers assigned to their houses. It was terrifying, thinking about another friend could get murdered.
Then a bizarre break in the case nobody saw coming. Just 24 hours after D.A. McClelland and his wife are gunned down, an anonymous tip comes into the Kaufman Sheriff's Crime Stoppers hotline. And this tip isn't coming from just any caller, it's the killer himself.
He was proving that it was him by giving little details about the weapons used, the bullets used, how the killings had taken place.
So this Crime Stoppers caller had information that no one would know except the murderer.
Yeah.
And then, in a chilling email exchange with officers through the Crime Stoppers website, this same person threatens to commit more murders unless a Kaufman judge resigns. The terrorizing tipster writes, "You have until Friday at 4 p.m.
It all seemed very well calculated.
But when detectives attempt to trace the killer's email address,
We were unable to successfully trace that IP address back to the killer. It turns out he had used the Tor network through the dark web to access the website. And he, in a sense, was taunting us online.
but detectives believe they might already know the man behind the twisted emails.
After Mark was murdered, and then after Mike and Cynthia was murdered, he became the one and only common denominator. Mark and Mike only tried one case together, and that was the case where they prosecuted him.
Up next, the shocking suspect. And you're not going to believe his 600 ridiculous reasons for wanting the DAs dead.
He was suspect number one.
And that's not all.
He was the justice of the peace in town.
That's right. The man cops suspect just murdered 3 people was also a Kaufman County judge and a rising star in the legal community.